Hey everyone, Preeti here. I know I've been talking about reviewing the fate of the Tearling for like ever in like 5 of my past videos at least, and I've mentioned things about it, but I've never actually gone into depth because I knew that one day I would do a discussion, and that day is today. So are you ready? Here's the book. So this book was really fun to read, and the pacing, like as a reader, was great, although I feel like when you think about it, like take a step back from the book and think about it, it's actually kind of slow. When you try and think about the main plot points that actually happen in this book, there weren't actually that many. A lot of it was just that the characters were like getting their own conclusion or like growing on their own, and like this book was setting them up for the ending or their death. I won't tell you if anyone dies. And I just feel like so much more could have happened. Like one of the things I liked about the last book, The Invasion of the Tearling, was that half of it was like the story of the past and how Tearling came to be, or like a bit before that, and the other half was like Kelsey and her kingdom and the present. But like even with the past, everything that was going on was firmly rooted in the present, and there was a reason going forward that we learned certain things about the past. What was wrong with this book was that so much of the book was rooted in the past, and I get that it's important, and yes, it has a significant effect on the ending and like how the ending comes to be, but I feel like there could have been so much more happening in the present, and like I didn't even like that ending. So even though there was a lack of conciseness in this book though, I have to say it was a gripping read and I could not put it down. I mentioned character development earlier, so first let's talk about Aza. Aza is Andalie's older child. She's not the one who can prophesize the future, but she's the kick-butt one who wants to be a Queen's Guard, and in this book she actually grows a lot in character. She overcomes her fears and she realizes that maybe the Queen's Guard isn't for her and maybe something darker is for her. I really like that she had to make a lot of tough calls in this book, and sometimes she had to go on her own way. Like even when she was accepted by another group other than the Queen's Guard, she had to do something with them. I won't say specifically what, but she had to do something and it totally went against what she wanted to do, but it was the right thing to do, and like it was just great. Her character development was wonderful. And she also had this one scene like in the very beginning of the book, and she was like, marriage is stupid, and I'm just like, you go girl. Another character that had a frick ton of character growth was the Red Queen. And I'm not sure if this is like a negative growth or positive growth, but whatever type of growth it was, it added a lot of dimension to her character. In the first book, The Queen of the Tearling, you feel like she's just like a black and white character, and yes, there's more going on, but like we as readers don't get to see much of it, so she's a very interesting, very dark character, but she's kind of meh. As the books go on, she gets more and more intense and like way more depth, although we do not understand any of it, and like that kind of goes along with how she is in this book too, but she kind of goes insane, but since like her insane is like our sanity. Her past, like, I know it was alluded to in The Invasion of the Tearling, but we get it clearly spelled out for those of us who didn't understand it as well, or maybe like weren't as sure about what was going on. It is truly terrible, but it's also crazy. Like if like those things didn't happen to her, maybe she would have turned out to be a completely different person, and that's just crazy to think about. How this book ends her character is very interesting, and I definitely liked it. Like it was a very good ending for her. Maybe she didn't deserve it, maybe it was too good for her, but I definitely liked it. Like it made for a really good plot. It was really fun and actually kind of painful to read, so kudos to the author for that. My gosh, the Fetch. What the heck happened to him in this book? I don't understand. Like he was like one of my favorite characters in The Queen of the Tearling, in The Invasion of the Tearling, and then in this book he is terrible. Like I never want to see his face again. We actually start with his perspective in this book, and like from the beginning he just sounds like a different, weak, scared, frightened character, and it's terrible. Then as this story goes on and we delve further and further into Tearling's past, we see him as a child, and oh what a terrible, horrible, disgusting, ew child he was. That totally affected my view on his character, and I'm just so sad because the things that could have been, just no way. I do not want them anymore. I'm sure Kelsey felt the same way. I'm sure the author also felt the same way, because the Fetch was not a major character in this book. Like yes, he was, you know, like actually he wasn't major in the past either, so I'm sad that I hate him now, but like definitely a good thing that he wasn't in more of the book, because I would have just slapped him. One last character we have to talk about, and that is Penn. I never shipped Penn with Kelsey. I thought he was a bland, boring, kind of whiny, maybe that was this book, but he was a meh character. I like the Fetch and the Mace more, and yes, they're both like way older than Kelsey, but they were more interesting, more solid, more dramatic in like a scary way. And Penn was just there. He was a guard. He was watching Kelsey. He was there for her, but I didn't like feel any sparks. And then something crazy happens. Okay, that is all I'm going to say for the non-spoilery section of this review, because everything else is like what I personally felt about things that went down in the last quarter of the book, and these things need to be hashed out. We have to discuss. So people who haven't read the book, please leave, come back when you read it, or if you're never gonna read the book, feel free to stay and hear me rant. So what happens when Kelsey comes back from her evils in the dungeon and the Red Queen and everything terrible? She comes back and Penn is just totally, completely indifferent. Like, how do you just turn off your emotions like that? The entire time she was in the dungeon, he was just like a wreck and like drunk and sad and crying and like completely worthless to anyone. And then right before she comes back, he's like, yeah, no, like, look girl, I want to be a Queen's Guard. I'm not gonna be your guard anymore, and this has got to stop. So yeah, goodbye. And then like even when Kelsey does like the stupidest things, like almost get herself killed, he's just standing there like, okay, that's not realistic. And if it is, that dude ain't human. And then what happens is that we get to the ending, and so those of you who have read this know that we get that alternate ending where she changes the past and the future. It's completely new, like a blank slate for everybody except, well, also Kelsey, although she also has memories from the past. So then she sees Penn and she's yelling his name and running behind him, and he's like, no, who is that? That's not my name. Inside I'm like, okay, so you guys don't, well, you don't recognize her, but she recognizes you, and you guys can start all over without you even knowing. This is great. And then we see later that no, he's walking into his house up the stairs, opens the door, and there is his wife or girlfriend waiting for him. I'm like, really? Really, Johansen? You couldn't give her that? You couldn't give me that? But yeah, like that is the only way the new alternate universe could have been salvaged for me, because I did not enjoy anything else about it. But like a new chance for Kelsey with Penn, or like just happiness, like more happiness than what she got, that would have like made it a bit better, but nope, didn't get that either. Can we talk about the ending more in depth? Nobody remembers anything but Kelsey. She is all alone. Like, okay, she has basically been all alone her entire life, and now after everything she's done and everything she has sacrificed for the people, and she has formed deep, strong bonds with people like the Mace and even the Fetch, who I still hate, and I don't know, Andally and Penn, even Penn, yes. And nobody remembers her. They're just happily living their lives, and she's like, I was queen and now I'm not. I hated my mother and now I can't. I work in a library, which actually isn't that bad, but still, like, queen to library. I wouldn't even do that, and I love the library. It's just so unfair to Kelsey. So unfair to Kelsey. I'm also kind of unclear as to what the ending was referring to, like what type of situation the new future / present is, because on the one hand, I feel like they could be describing a kind of utopia, and I just feel like that would be completely unrealistic for the human race. I'm not necessarily saying that the human race is bad in itself, but I just feel like after like so long, I guess that is what I'm saying, maybe, because I just feel like a utopia is beyond our reach and just would not work for us as the terrible humans that we are. I'm kidding, kind of. However, the second side that I see is that I know they mentioned a parliament, so I guess another view that could be taken is that the author Johansen was like talking about kind of a present like ours, because there's a parliament and like there are still like skirmishes between people, but I don't know, is it like a more perfect world that is based on our world? Because that is definitely more believable, and I'm okay with that, despite the fact that I still hate the ending, but like it's more realistic at least if you take the second idea and not the first one. Also, if it was a utopia again, and like we already know that Tearling tried to create a utopia and it completely failed, so why would you do the same thing again? Do you people not learn from your mistakes? Overall, though I wasn't happy with the ending of this book, everything else was perfect. And even though when I look back on it, I'm not completely sure like that much happened, it was still a solid conclusion. It wraps most things together, which is good, and I don't know, it was just a really intense, fun, mature series, and I just had so much fun. Like, honestly, it's comparable to Throne of Glass, like, completely different, but like on the same level. So I highly recommend the series. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos of the same ilk. Thanks for watching. Bye!